Guys, it's Jake back here again with another video. And what I thought we'd do today is kind of talk about what I like to carry for water purification and collection. And I figured we'd do a video on water collection and purification, things to look for whenever you are collecting water, just because I haven't done one before. So as you can see in this area behind me, I've got a pool of water. It hasn't rained here in Ohio for about 2 or 3 weeks now. Everything is really dry. I'm actually sitting in a creek bank that's typically full up to here, and it's pretty much bone dry for the most part. There's a couple small pools like this that have some fish and things like that in them, but this is the pool that we're going to be collecting our water out of today. This is my day bag that I have with me today, and there are a few things that I always carry inside of my bag to help me with water collection and disinfection methods. So what I have with me is a Grail GeoPress with a Grail cup, stainless steel Grail cup, and a millbank bag. This small kit has pretty much replaced me carrying a full metal water bottle or stainless steel container or titanium, just because this kit is so versatile. The millbank bag, and if you don't know what a millbank bag is, it's basically just a piece of heavy canvas that looks like a Christmas stocking for the most part. You'd fill this thing up right here to the fill line with water, and then you just let it drip into your Grail cup or your Grail or whatever you're using for your catchment device, and then run it through the Grail, and then you can boil it if you absolutely need to. But what this thing does is it gets heavy particulates out of the water, like your big floaters. If it's got sand floating around in it, things like that, bugs, anything like that, it's going to get that stuff out without destroying your actual water filter. Now, whenever you come up on our water source, there's a few things that you need to look for while you're walking up, basically. You look for, you know, wildlife. Is there lots of wildlife in the area? Is wildlife coming to drink from that water? Can you see tracks, things like that? Because more than likely, if there's wildlife drinking out of the water, that also means they're going to be crapping in the water and pissing in the water. Another thing you need to look for are dead animals. If you come up on a pool of water and there's a ton of dead animals laying around it, more than likely that water is not going to be good for you to drink, and you need to be very cautious about collecting water from that area. Another thing you want to look for is, what does the water smell like? Does it have a very sulfuric smell? Does it smell rancid? Things like that. Is there, you know, like I said, if there's dead animals laying in the water is going to have that kind of smell to it. Those are just a few things you want to look for whenever you are coming up onto a water source. One thing that I like to do personally is, if I come up on a water source like a stream, I'll walk 100 yards downstream and 100 yards upstream, because you never know, there could be a dead cow or a dead deer or something laying in this bend right here that I don't know about. Then when I go to collect my water and drink it, you're drinking basically water that's a dead deer's been sitting in. Another thing too is you want to look at the vegetation in that area. When you come up on a water source, is everything around that water source dead? Or, you know, this time of year it's kind of hard to tell, because, you know, we're getting into late fall, early winter, and, you know, most of your plants and stuff are going to be dead. But if you're, you know, midsummer or whatever, the area around a water source should be very lush and very green. If you come up onto it and everything is completely dead, that water may have some sort of contaminant in it, like petroleum or something like that, or have a high sulfur content that will kill off those plants. Therefore, you want to be very careful about drinking that water. And another thing that goes with vegetation and wildlife is, there's stuff growing in the water, or they're fishing that you can see swimming around the water. I can look down in here and I can see a bunch of minnows swimming in the water, which is typically a good sign. And looking for those things while you're walking up on a source is very simple. It only takes about a minute or so, because this is all stuff you can process while you're walking up to the source, or while you're looking at the water, or where you want to collect. Okay, so we're putting together our water purification and collection kit or disinfection kit. There are 5 things that we need to worry about getting out of the water. That way it doesn't make us sick or possibly kill us. So the first one is turbidity. You know, how much turbidity is in that water. I can see in this water right now that I'm looking at, there's a lot of floaters and things like that, because this water has been sitting. This is not moving water right now. Another thing you want to look for is like the flow of the water. I know it flows this way, but it's like I said, it's not flowing because it's just a pool right now. So you need to have something to remove heavy particulates and turbidity out of the water. That's, like I said, why I carry a millbank bag. You can also use a bandana if need be. I prefer a millbank bag just because it seems to work a little bit better. Next thing we need to look for are chemicals. Typically, if there are chemicals in the water, you can smell it, like petroleum. If it has a very high sulfur content also, those are things that you need to have a filter or some way to get out of the water if you can. I know that the Grail GeoPress takes out a lot of chemicals, so I don't really worry too much about that. That's, you know, not very common where I'm from. Now, if you're overseas in Africa or something like that, I've heard it's a little bit more common over there. But where I'm from, I don't really have too much to worry about that. The next one are bacterial diseases. So you need to have a filter that can take out the bacterial diseases, and also after you filter it, you can boil it if you choose to, because the CDC and the Wilderness Medical Society both agree that the only 100% way to disinfect your water is to filter it and then boil it. Next thing is protozoa, and then also viruses. These are all things that are going to make you sick while you're out in the field. You don't want something like beaver fever or giardia. You don't want cryptosporidium or anything like that, because that stuff is going to give you a hard time while you're out in the wilderness. And also, if you're out, you know, a couple miles deep and you're out there for a few days and you're just having, you know, diarrhea the whole time, you also have to think about you're also losing water as fast as you're putting it in at that point. So that could be very dangerous. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about with you guys before we actually collect this water and disinfect it are 5 water disinfection methods. So starting with the 5 water disinfection methods, first one is coarse filtering. So again, that's why I have the Millbank bag, like I said, to get the heavy particulates out of the water. The next one is boiling. Boiling is not going to remove chemicals or, you know, things like that, or petroleum or anything like that. That's going to kill all the viruses, protozoa, and bacteria that is in the water. You need something else to remove the chemicals and turbidity from the water. The next one is mechanical filtering. Something like a Grail GeoPress, or, you know, a Life Straw or something like that. Then there are also chemical filtering options, using bleach, 2% tincture of iodine, things like that. I wouldn't really carry bleach into the woods. I would carry 2% tincture of iodine before I would bleach, because it can be used for multiple things. But that's just another method you can use. That's more, I don't really consider that a field use. I consider that more an at-home use. If you had to really, you know, disinfect a lot of water, say you had a big 500-gallon water tank, pour some bleach in it, things like that. Just be sure you measure this stuff out correctly, because you don't want to hurt yourself with it. The next one is ultraviolet. I don't have one, but there is something called a SteriPen that you can actually put into the water, and it will kill anything that's in the water within just a few minutes. Another thing you can do is take a clear trash bag and fill that clear trash bag up with water and basically set it in the sun on some rocks or something like that, and let the UV light basically kill off anything. You're basically bringing it to almost a pasteurization level of right around 160 to 165 for an extended period of time. That way it kills anything that's in the water. Now that we understand what to look for whenever we walk up onto a water source and what the contaminants of that water source could be, and also 5 different disinfection methods, let's go ahead and collect up some water. I'll show you guys how I utilize this kit to the best of its ability, so stay with me. So what I'm going to do is take my Millbank bag. You have to soak this before you actually put water in it, because what happens with canvas is when it gets wet, it constricts. Okay, so it squeezes the water out of it basically. So this is something you basically just get in the water. Notice I'm not filling it up inside the water like it is now. Just make sure it gets nice and wet. And you're going to stir some stuff up doing this, but that's all right. It won't hurt nothing. So you want to get this thing nice and soaking wet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Grail cup. You can see this area where I got all the stuff stirred up. I'm going to kind of try to go away from that. I'm just going to take this and start filling up this bag. I'm going to show you what this water looks like inside of this bag real quick. Okay, so I've hung this millbank bag up, you can see the water dripping from it right there. And what we're going to do now is basically just take our cup from our grail, make sure this stuff is moved out of the way. We'll place this in a good spot. That way, as this gets full, it's not going to spill over. Put a rock or something underneath of it. And so, like I said, what this is going to do is it's going to take all of the turbidity and stuff out of the water that is going to clog and destroy our water filter. So all we have to do now is just let this thing fill up. Now, depending on how much turbidity is in the water that you're collecting, this is going to depend on how fast this drips. I know for a fact this water has a lot of sand in it that you can't really see, and it's always stirred up. I know that for a fact. So what's happening is, as that stuff, you know, flows to the bottom of this bag, this drip is going to get a little bit slower. But as you can see, it's still dripping at a pretty good pace. That's just because of all the sand that's in this water. So we're going to let this thing fill up, and we'll move on to the next thing. Look inside this bag, you can see how dirty and nasty this water really is. You can see where I loaded this in there, all that sand and dirt and stuff that's in there. That's stuff you don't want in your water. That's going to clog your filter up. Okay, so these Grail filters have a fill line. It might be kind of hard for you guys to see right there, but that's it right there. We're pretty much almost to that fill line. You see this water is a lot less cloudy than it was before, all right? All the big dirt and the sediment, things like that, have been removed from it. So now all we're gonna do is just take our Grail filter, I just open up the lid. You can just crack it if you want to. Pop it open. And then just start pushing. And just like that. Now we have water that has been filtered through a coarse filter, and also most of the bacteria, things like that, all the nasties have been removed. If we still weren't too sure about the water, we could even take it one step further and go ahead and boil it in our grill cup. I do not think that is necessary for the water that we have collected today. Okay, so once you get your water collected and ran through the grill, like I said, typically I won't boil after the grill unless the water is like really nasty and I'm really worried about it. I'll typically just drink it straight from the grill. It's cold too. You know, another reason why I like this Grail so much is not only, number one, because I can also carry a metal cup without having to carry a separate canteen, but if I did have a separate canteen, I basically have 2 water bottles or 2 canteens that I can carry water with me. If I really wanted to, you guys saw how quick I, you know, filtered this stuff through that Grail. If I really wanted to and didn't want to run it through the coarse filter, I could always just run it through the Grail, fill up both bottles, and then keep moving. Alrighty guys, so that is my video on water collection and disinfection methods. You know, something that I did not mention is, you know, if you didn't have something like this, you can always run a 3-tier system with a tripod and 3 bandanas. I'll do another video on that later on. But like I said, I just wanted to shoot a real quick video on what I like to carry for water filtration and disinfection, and why I carry those items, and also what to look for whenever you are collecting water. So if you guys want this millbank bag and the grill cup with the Grail, I will leave a link in the description box below that'll take you to my affiliate page on Self-Reliance Outfitters, and I have these items on that affiliate page if you want to pick some up. That being said, I'm Jake with the Buckeye Bushcraft channel. Appreciate you guys joining me for this real quick video. I appreciate all your likes, views, shares, comments, and all of your feedback. If you want to see more of what I do, follow me on Instagram at Buckeye_Bushcraft, and also on Facebook underneath Jake Trent. Thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you guys got something out of this video and might have learned something. If you guys have any suggestions, leave it in the comments below and let me know what you carry for your water disinfection and collection method. I'm Jake Trent with the Buckeye Bushcraft channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.